holds your life in their hands, trusted implicitly, respected universally. But what happens when the healer becomes the killer? In this chilling countdown, we uncover 7 real-life cases of physicians whose true specialty was death. Prepare yourself, because the face of compassion you're about to see might just be your worst nightmare. Case 1. Harold Shipman, Dr. Death, born on January 14, 1946 in Nottingham, England. Harold Frederick Shipman appeared destined for a life of compassion and care, raised in a working-class family. Shipman watched his beloved mother succumb slowly and painfully to cancer, observing firsthand the powerful influence doctors had over life and death. Friends and family later described him as intelligent, ambitious, and deeply affected by his mother's agonizing death, an event that sparked his initial interest in medicine, particularly the power physicians held over human fate. Shipman graduated from Leeds University Medical School in 1970, quickly establishing himself as a respected and trustworthy family doctor. His patients adored him, admiring his calm demeanor and meticulous professionalism. Yet beneath the mask of care and trustworthiness lurked a sinister force, fueled by Shipman's dangerous delusion known as the God complex. Driven by a pathological obsession for absolute control, Shipman developed a distorted belief that he alone possessed the authority to determine who lived and who died. Psychiatric evaluations later characterized Shipman's condition as a severe narcissistic personality disorder, accompanied by the God complex, a delusional conviction of one's supreme authority over life and death. Shipman saw himself not just as a healer, but as the ultimate arbiter of human existence. His methodology was chillingly methodical. Shipman carefully selected elderly and vulnerable patients, individuals whose deaths would arouse minimal suspicion. During seemingly routine home visits, he administered lethal overdoses of morphine quietly, efficiently, without hesitation or remorse. The victims trusted him implicitly, never suspecting the cold, calculating murderers standing beside their beds. After committing these silent executions, Shipman skillfully forged medical records and death certificates, attributing each carefully orchestrated killing to natural causes such as heart attacks, strokes, or simple old age. For decades, his crimes went unnoticed, hidden behind the veil of medical respectability. Shipman operated without detection, accumulating victims with ruthless precision, officially. He was convicted for murdering 15 patients. However, subsequent investigations led by Dame Janet Smith concluded that Shipman was responsible for at least 215 deaths, making him Britain's most prolific serial killer, and one of the deadliest medical murderers the world had ever known. Shipman's downfall began in June '98 when suspicion arose surrounding the death of his patient, Kathleen Grundy, a healthy 81-year-old woman, died suddenly shortly after Shipman visited her. Her daughter discovered a forged will, leaving her mother's fortune entirely to Shipman, an uncharacteristically sloppy move, motivated perhaps by arrogance or complacency. Alarmed and disturbed, the family demanded an autopsy. Forensic examinations revealed fatal doses of morphine amounts so extraordinarily high that authorities knew immediately something sinister had occurred. As police investigations deepened, a horrifying pattern emerged. Shipman had methodically murdered patient after patient under identical circumstances. Arrested on September 7, 1998, he calmly denied all charges, maintaining an air of detached superiority throughout his interrogation and subsequent trial in court. The chilling reality of Shipman's psyche was exposed. He displayed an unnerving indifference, consistently maintaining his innocence and showing absolutely no remorse. His cool detachment shocked even seasoned investigators. One prosecutor noted Shipman's chilling arrogance, recalling vividly his emotionless demeanor, stating, "It was as if Shipman believed he was untouchable, above judgment and accountability." In January 2000, after a meticulously presented case, the jury delivered their verdict guilty on 15 counts of murder. Shipman received 15 life sentences, with no possibility of parole, even as the judge pronounced sentencing. Shipman's face remained utterly expressionless, betraying no hint of emotion or humanity. His chilling silence sent shivers through the packed courtroom. Yet, perhaps the most haunting detail of Shipman's story came afterward. On January 13, 2004, just one day before his 58th birthday, Harold Shipman committed suicide by hanging himself in his prison cell. Even in death, he exerted ultimate control, deciding the time and manner of his own end. When news broke, many families of his victims felt cheated, robbed of closure by a man whose obsession with power persisted until his final breath. Shipman's case shook public confidence in the medical establishment and forever altered how authorities investigated healthcare-related deaths. His disturbing legacy serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerability inherent in absolute trust and the horrifying consequences when that trust is betrayed by those sworn to protect life. This was Harold Shipman, Dr. Death, a trusted physician who became one of history's most cold-blooded serial killers. Case 2, Michael Swango, Dr. Poison-born Joseph Michael Swango, on October 21, 1954, in Tacoma, Washington. Michael Swango appeared outwardly like the ideal young medical professional, bright, charismatic, and diligent. Swango graduated from Quincy Notre Dame High School in Illinois, becoming known for his intelligence and intense ambition. Enrolled at Southern Illinois University School of Medicine in 1979, Swango seemed perfectly poised to fulfill his promising future. However, behind this carefully maintained facade, Swango concealed a deeply disturbing obsession, an insatiable fascination with death and a compulsion to control it. Swango's troubling behavior first surfaced during his medical school years. Classmates recounted his peculiar fixation with death, as well as a string of unexplained patient fatalities during his clinical rotations. Though suspicion arose, a formal investigation yielded inconclusive results, allowing Swango to graduate in 1983 and begin practicing medicine, his dark compulsion undetected. Psychologists later identified Swango as suffering from profound psychopathy, characterized by extreme manipulativeness, pathological lying, and a chilling lack of empathy or remorse. His driving force was an intoxicating sense of control over life and death, fueled by a dangerous combination of narcissism and morbid fascination. Swango's methods were disturbingly subtle, yet brutally effective. Working as an intern at Ohio State University hospitals and later as a physician at various medical facilities across America and abroad, Swango used his trusted medical position to quietly administer lethal doses of poisons, commonly arsenic and cyanide, to unsuspecting victims. His favorite tactic involved secretly contaminating food, beverages, and intravenous medications, inducing painful, agonizing deaths masked cleverly as inexplicable medical complications. The randomness of his targeting patterned patients, co-workers, acquaintances only heightened confusion and suspicion, allowing him to evade detection for years. Officially, Swango's crimes eventually led to his conviction for 4 confirmed murders. However, authorities strongly suspect the actual death toll to be significantly higher, potentially as many as 60 victims across multiple continents. Given the similar unexplained deaths coinciding with Swango's employment in virtually every institution Swango practiced, patient death rates rose mysteriously, a chilling pattern investigators later called his signature. Swango's carefully constructed mask finally shattered in '97. While practicing in Zimbabwe under forged credentials, local medical authorities uncovered an alarming rise in suspicious patient deaths coinciding with Swango's presence. Alerted by concerned staff, authorities in Zimbabwe began an investigation that quickly exposed Swango's criminal history in America. Zimbabwean authorities promptly terminated his employment, and Swango fled to Zambia. Realizing the net was closing in, he returned to the United States in June '97. Federal authorities were waiting. Arrested in a dramatic sting at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, Swango faced multiple charges, including murder, assault, and fraud, following a lengthy investigation led by the FBI. Prosecutors meticulously built an overwhelming case. In a highly publicized trial, Swango maintained a chilling composure, denying guilt with disturbing confidence. Prosecutors described him in court as a man utterly devoid of conscience, driven purely by an insatiable hunger for domination through death. Swango's trial exposed horrifying evidence, including detailed diary entries he kept describing the agony of his victims and meticulous notes recording his poisoning experiments, acts documented with cold, clinical detachment. On July 11, 2000, Swango pleaded guilty to 4 murders in federal court, effectively sealing his fate. The judge sentenced him to 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, branding him a remorseless predator who exploited his medical expertise for murderous ends. Swango's expression remained unsettlingly impassive, showing no regret or remorse even as he learned he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Swango's case was his brazen belief in his own infallibility. FBI Special Agent Thomas Valeri described Swango as one of the most cunning and remorseless serial killers he'd encountered, noting that Swango genuinely believed he could indefinitely evade justice. Swango's arrogance, combined with his clinical cruelty, disturbed investigators deeply today. Michael Swango resides in solitary confinement at ADX Florence, a federal maximum security penitentiary known for housing America's most dangerous criminals, locked away for the remainder of his natural life. Swango leaves behind a haunting legacy, a trusted healer whose hidden specialty was death itself. Swango's terrifying saga illustrates the catastrophic consequences of blind trust in authority figures, demonstrating how dangerously lethal a physician's hands can become when wielded by evil intentions. This was Michael Swango, Dr. Poison, the physician whose deadly ambition turned healing into murder. Case 3H. H. Holmes, America's first serial killer. Born Herman Webster Mudgett on May 16, 1861 in Gilmanton, New Hampshire. The man history remembers as H. Holmes began his journey toward infamy quietly and unassumingly. Growing up in an affluent family, Holmes was described as intelligent, charming, yet curiously withdrawn, with childhood anecdotes hinting at an early fascination with death and dissection. This unsettling interest eventually guided Holmes toward a medical education. Holmes attended the University of Michigan Medical School, graduating in 1884. Known among peers as bright yet eccentric, he soon became notorious for theft and insurance fraud schemes, demonstrating early on his manipulative cunning. Psychologists would later identify Holmes as possessing textbook psychopathy marked by extreme charisma, a profound ability to deceive, and a chilling absence of empathy or remorse. Driven by financial greed intertwined with morbid fascination, Holmes relocated to Chicago, Illinois, in 1886, assuming the infamous alias Henry Howard Holmes. There, he carefully crafted his dark masterpiece, a massive, imposing structure known infamously as the Murder Castle, located in the Englewood neighborhood, officially built to serve as a hotel during Chicago's bustling 1893 World's Fair. Its interior was a nightmarish labyrinth of hidden chambers, secret staircases, soundproof torture rooms, and body disposal chutes, every detail meticulously planned by Holmes himself. The true horror of Holmes's twisted mind revealed itself in the chillingly calculated methods he employed, preying on vulnerable tourists, tenants, and even employees. Holmes led unsuspecting victims into the isolated and soundproofed rooms deep within his hotel. Once trapped, victims faced unimaginable terrors, locked rooms flooded with poisonous gas, hidden passageways designed to disorient and confuse, and secret chambers built for prolonged torture and murder. After committing his gruesome acts, Holmes efficiently disposed of bodies by dissolving them in acid vats or burning them in massive furnaces installed within the castle's hidden recesses. Although Holmes officially confessed to 27 murders, historians and law enforcement experts believe the actual number of victims far exceeded that figure, with some estimates reaching as many as 200 individuals who vanished mysteriously in Holmes's vicinity. His systematic, methodical approach made exact victim counts difficult, as many remains were never recovered or identified. Holmes's downfall came not through meticulous detective work, but rather through greed and hubris. After murdering associate Benjamin Pittizel in a life insurance fraud scheme, authorities became suspicious. Philadelphia detective Frank Geyer painstakingly traced Holmes's trail across the country, eventually discovering the horrific remains of 3 Pitizell children also victims of Holmes's murderous rampage. This grim discovery finally unveiled the true nature of Holmes's evil. Arrested on November 17, 1894, Holmes showed disturbingly little emotion, calmly proclaiming innocence while simultaneously weaving elaborate, contradictory confessions designed to confuse and manipulate investigators. Throughout his trial, Holmes's detached confidence remained chillingly evident. According to courtroom accounts, Holmes appeared unnervingly calm and indifferent, exhibiting no remorse or empathy. Even when confronted with graphic evidence of his crimes, his icy composure shocked seasoned prosecutors, who described him as a master manipulator utterly lacking in humanity. On May 7, 1896, Holmes was executed by hanging at Moyamensing Prison in Philadelphia. Even his final moments proved macabre. His neck failed to snap immediately, resulting in a protracted, agonizing 15-minute strangulation, ironically mirroring the prolonged suffering he had inflicted upon so many others. In a chilling statement, Holmes famously wrote in his confession, "I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than the poet can help the inspiration to sing." This sinister declaration, delivered with haunting sincerity, continues to echo disturbingly in the annals of American criminal history. H. Holmes, known today as America's first serial killer, became the dark archetype upon which modern criminal psychology and investigative techniques were built. His horrifying legacy remains a grim reminder of the human capacity for calculated cruelty and the ease with which trust and authority can mask unimaginable evil. Today, over a century later, Holmes's story continues to fascinate and horrify, forever immortalized as a chilling testament to the monstrous potential lurking within the most trusted figures in society. Case 4. Jack Kevorkian, Dr. Death Assisted Suicide. Dr. born Jacob Kevorkian on May 26, 1928 in Pontiac, Michigan. Jack Kevorkian initially showed great promise as a dedicated physician, the son of Armenian immigrants who escaped the horrors of genocide. Kevorkian grew up in a home marked by trauma and profound conversations about death and dignity. From a young age, Kevorkian grappled deeply with the morality surrounding human suffering, mortality, and euthanasia, a fascination that would define his controversial medical legacy. Kevorkian graduated from the University of Michigan Medical School in 1952, quickly gaining recognition as an intelligent yet unorthodox pathologist. Known among peers for his sharp intellect and obsession with medical ethics, Kevorkian also harbored unconventional ideas, particularly the notion that terminally ill patients should have the right to choose death over prolonged suffering. Psychological evaluations later described Kevorkian as fiercely independent, highly intelligent, and profoundly stubborn, driven not by malice but by an unwavering belief in personal autonomy. Experts described his psychological profile as exhibiting strong signs of idealistic narcissism, a conviction that his understanding of human dignity and morality surpassed society's norms. Kevorkian's methods were both deliberate and profoundly controversial. In the late 1980s, he created a machine called the Mercitron, a device allowing patients to administer lethal drugs themselves with minimal physician assistance. He openly advocated for what he termed physician-assisted suicide, firmly believing he offered humane relief from terminal illnesses and relentless suffering. Kevorkian carefully selected patients, typically individuals suffering from debilitating conditions, chronic pain, or terminal illnesses, offering them a way out through assisted death. Throughout the 1990s, Kevorkian's controversial practices garnered both media attention and fierce public debate. He openly assisted in the suicides of at least 130 terminally ill patients, videotaping procedures and frequently informing law enforcement afterward. His blatant disregard for prevailing laws led to multiple arrests. However, Kevorkian repeatedly evaded convictions through skillful defense and public sympathy. The most shocking turning point came on November 98. Kevorkian deliberately videotaped himself, administering a lethal injection directly to Thomas Uke, a 52-year-old patient suffering from Lou Gehrig's disease. Kevorkian personally performed the injection, crossing the crucial legal boundary between assisted suicide and euthanasia. He then boldly handed the videotape to CBS's 60 Minutes, openly challenging prosecutors to act against him, firmly believing his actions would spark legal reform. This provocative gesture proved Kevorkian's undoing. Prosecutors immediately pressed charges, leading to a highly publicized and emotionally charged trial in March '99. In court, Kevorkian remained defiant, asserting passionately that his actions were acts of compassion, not murder, but prosecutors branded him a dangerous vigilante, pointing to the chillingly methodical manner in which Kevorkian administered death. Throughout the trial, Kevorkian displayed remarkable composure, boldly defending his philosophy. Dying is not a crime. His shocking courtroom declaration reverberated through the jury and media alike. "My ultimate aim is to make euthanasia a positive experience," he stated firmly, with disturbing calmness. Yet despite Kevorkian's impassioned arguments, the jury found him guilty of second-degree murder. On April 13, 1999, the judge sentenced Kevorkian to 10 to 25 years in prison. Even as he received sentencing, Kevorkian showed no remorse, maintaining he had done nothing immoral, repeating calmly, "I was acting purely in the name of compassion." Kevorkian served 8 years before being released on parole in June 2007 due to declining health. In his final years, he remained unapologetic, continuing to advocate passionately for euthanasia and patients' rights to dignified death. Kevorkian passed away on June 3, 2011, at age 83 from complications related to kidney and liver conditions. Kevorkian's legacy remains complex and deeply polarizing. Many hail him as a courageous crusader who forced society to confront uncomfortable truths about suffering and dignity in death. Others remember him as an arrogant physician who took morality into his own hands, dangerously blurring the lines between healer and executioner. Regardless, Kevorkian's chilling nickname, Dr. Death, endures, symbolizing the ethical turmoil surrounding euthanasia. His story forces us to ponder troubling questions. Where is the ethical line between mercy and murder? Who should hold the power over life and death? This was Jack Kevorkian, Dr. Death, a physician whose radical pursuit of compassion forever challenged society's ethical boundaries. Case 5. Christopher Duntsch. Dr. Death born Christopher Daniel Duntsch on April 3, 1971 in Montana. Dr. Christopher Duntsch was raised in a seemingly ordinary household, bright, charismatic, and ambitious. Duntsch was determined from an early age to pursue a successful career in medicine. Moving through college, he cultivated a carefully crafted image as an innovative neurosurgeon, one whose cutting-edge skills promised revolutionary treatments. Yet behind this meticulously maintained facade hid a disturbing reality. Christopher Duntsch was, in fact, dangerously incompetent and ruthlessly reckless. Graduating from the University of Tennessee Health Science Center's medical school in 2001, Duntsch quickly built a reputation as an exceptionally confident young physician, eager to revolutionize spinal surgery, yet his surgical skills were shockingly deficient. Psychological evaluations would later reveal traits consistent with malignant narcissism, extreme arrogance, and profound denial traits that blinded him to his own incompetence, fueling his devastating downward spiral, motivated by fame, prestige, and financial success. Duntsch deliberately concealed his surgical inadequacies, deceiving hospitals, colleagues, and patients alike. His self-delusion was dangerously compounded by alcohol and substance abuse, factors which significantly impaired his medical judgment. This deadly combination soon transformed Duntsch into one of America's most infamous and dangerous surgeons. Between 2010 and 2013, Duntsch operated in several reputable hospitals around Dallas, Texas. His surgical procedures quickly became known for their alarming rate of catastrophic outcomes. Patients suffered debilitating injuries, permanent paralysis, and even death. Victims described their post-surgical lives as living nightmares, tormented by chronic pain and severe physical impairment. Duntsch's surgical methodology was horrifyingly careless and cruelly negligent. He regularly botched even the most basic surgical procedures, severing spinal cords, damaging nerves, drilling recklessly into bone, and leaving surgical tools implanted inside patients' bodies. One victim, Kelly Martin, tragically bled to death on the operating table after Dunch recklessly severed an artery during a routine spinal surgery. Rather than recognizing his mistakes, Dunch showed chilling indifference, moving seamlessly to his next victim without remorse or accountability. As patient injuries and fatalities multiplied, concerned colleagues attempted to sound the alarm. Neurosurgeons Dr. Randall Kirby and Dr. Robert Henderson, horrified by Dunch's catastrophic outcomes, meticulously documented his dangerous actions and tirelessly lobbied hospital administrators and the Texas Medical Board. Yet, due to systemic oversight failures and bureaucratic delays, Dunch continued operating unchecked, accumulating an ever-growing trail of destruction. It was only after mounting public outrage and intense media scrutiny that authorities acted decisively. Following investigations spearheaded by Texas medical authorities and public prosecutors, Dunch was finally arrested in July 2015. Prosecutors charged him with 5 counts of aggravated assault and 1 count of injury to an elderly person, marking one of the first times in American history a surgeon faced criminal prosecution for medical malpractice and deliberate patient harm. During his highly publicized trial in February 2017, courtroom observers noted Dunch's disturbingly detached demeanor. He appeared utterly unmoved by harrowing testimonies from patients whose lives he had irreparably destroyed. Prosecutors described him in chilling terms, stating, "This is not medical negligence. This is intentional harm. Dunch deliberately endangered his patients' lives, driven purely by ego and greed." In one particularly shocking moment, prosecutors introduced an email Dunch had written, wherein he disturbingly stated, "I am ready to leave the love, kindness, goodness, and patience that I mix with everything else that I am and become a cold-blooded killer." This email sent shivers through the courtroom, revealing the true depth of Dunch's dangerous psyche. On February 20th, 2017, after 4 hours of deliberation, the jury found Christopher Dunch guilty. The judge sentenced him to life in prison, declaring him a grave threat to society who must never again wield a surgeon's scalpel. As Dunch received his sentence, observers noted his unchanged expression, no remorse, no reaction, merely the cold detachment of a man who believed himself beyond reproach. Today, Dunch serves his life sentence in a Texas penitentiary, confined indefinitely for crimes committed beneath the facade of a trusted surgeon. His shocking story exposed disturbing vulnerabilities within the healthcare system, sparking nationwide debates on medical oversight and accountability. Christopher Dunch, now known universally as Dr. Death, embodies a nightmarish cautionary tale, a doctor who exploited trust, shattered lives, and whose chilling pursuit of ego-driven ambition became his patient's undoing. This was Christopher Dunch, Dr. Death, a trusted surgeon who transformed healing into horror. Case 6. Donald Harvey, Angel of Death. Donald Harvey was born on April 15, 1952 in Hamilton, Ohio. Growing up in a modest family, Harvey was described as quiet, withdrawn, and emotionally detached from an early age. His childhood, though seemingly ordinary, concealed troubling signs marked by isolation and reports of psychological instability. Harvey's troubling relationship with death began young, as family members and peers noticed his unsettling fascination with mortality and human suffering. At age 18, Harvey landed a position as an orderly at Marymount Hospital in London, Kentucky. Despite possessing no formal medical training, initially praised by colleagues for his hardworking nature and dedication, Harvey quietly cultivated a dark persona behind the scenes. He quickly discovered a disturbing thrill derived from wielding ultimate control over life and death, a morbid obsession he later admitted drove him to commit multiple murders. Psychological assessments revealed Harvey suffered from profound narcissistic personality disorder, characterized by severe detachment from empathy, grandiose perceptions of self, and an obsessive need for control. Harvey himself chillingly rationalized his actions during later interrogations, claiming that he was helping terminally ill patients pass quietly, a twisted justification rooted deeply in his distorted sense of power and authority. Harvey's methods were calculated and ruthless, carefully concealed within the trusted walls of medical institutions. Between 1970 and 1987, Harvey operated undetected, silently murdering at least 37 patients. Although some experts estimate the actual number exceeds 70 victims, his chosen methods were cruelly diverse: lethal doses of cyanide and arsenic stealthily administered through food or intravenous drips, suffocation using pillows, and deliberate overdoses of insulin and morphine. Harvey moved effortlessly between nursing homes and hospitals, including Cincinnati's Drake Memorial Hospital and Cincinnati Veterans Affairs Medical Center, leaving behind a hauntingly invisible trail of death. The randomness and subtlety of his murders allowed Harvey to evade suspicion for years. He preyed predominantly upon elderly and critically ill patients, whose deaths seldom raised alarm, to further conceal his actions. Harvey meticulously falsified patient records, altering medical charts to suggest natural causes such as heart failure or stroke. His colleagues rarely suspected foul play, viewing Harvey merely as a quiet, diligent worker. Harvey's chilling reign of death came to an abrupt halt in March 1987, when pathologist Dr. Lee Lehman detected suspicious traces of cyanide during the autopsy of patient John Powell. Shocked, authorities launched a full investigation, revealing a horrifyingly consistent pattern. An abnormally high number of patients had mysteriously died under Harvey's care. When confronted with evidence, Harvey initially maintained composure, calmly denying involvement, but investigators methodically dismantled his carefully constructed lies, revealing the monstrous reality beneath his facade. Arrested on April 6, 1987. Harvey eventually confessed, calmly detailing his methods and motivations in disturbingly clinical language. His interrogation left seasoned detectives chilled to the bone. Harvey showed no remorse, only a detached curiosity in reliving his crimes. During interrogations, Harvey coldly stated, "I felt like I was playing God, deciding who should live and who should die." His complete lack of empathy or remorse deeply disturbed investigators and prosecutors alike. In August 1987, Harvey pleaded guilty to 37 murders in a Cincinnati courtroom, accepting life imprisonment to avoid the death penalty. As the judge delivered Harvey's sentence, multiple consecutive life terms, without possibility of parole, observers noted his chillingly indifferent expression, an unfeeling gaze devoid of humanity. Donald Harvey's disturbing saga took a final ironic twist on March 30th, 2017, when he died after being viciously beaten in his Ohio prison cell by fellow inmate James Elliott. Authorities viewed Harvey's violent death as a tragically fitting end for a man whose life revolved around inflicting suffering upon the defenseless. Harvey's case profoundly shook public confidence in healthcare institutions, highlighting frightening vulnerabilities in patient safety and hospital oversight. His unsettling nickname, Angel of Death, endures as a grim testament to the devastating consequences of misplaced trust. Harvey's horrifying legacy underscores a deeply troubling reality. Predators may lurk behind the most trusted roles, hiding in plain sight, camouflaged by authority, respectability, and compassion. This was Donald Harvey, the Angel of Death, the trusted medical worker who became one of America's most terrifying serial killers. You've just discovered 7 terrifying cases of doctors who took lives instead of saving them. Harold Shipman, Michael Swango, H. Holmes, Jack Kevorkian, Christopher Dunch, Donald Harvey, and Kermit Gosnell, doctors, trusted to heal, but secretly choosing to kill. But tell us who sent chills down your spine the most. Let us know down below in the comments. And if you want more shocking true crime stories like this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Remember, sometimes the scariest threat hides behind the most trusted face.